Give me 27 minutes. That's all I ask. Not to entertain you, not to comfort you, but to confront you. Because if you let me, these next few minutes might change everything. Not with hollow motivation, not with vague inspiration, but with something far more dangerous and far more liberating. Truth. The kind of truth that shakes foundations, that pulls the mask off suffering and shows you what's really hiding underneath. If you've ever asked yourself, why does it hurt so much? Why am I still not okay? This is for you. This is not a feel-good video. This is not a pep talk. This is a mirror, and Carl Jung is standing beside you, whispering, "What you do not bring to consciousness returns as fate." And right now, fate is bleeding through your choices, your habits, your pain. You've called it bad luck. You've called it depression. You've called it everything except what it really is. Your soul, suffocating under the weight of who you think you're supposed to be. But that ends here, right now. Because the real reason you're suffering, it's not life, it's not people, it's not even circumstances. It's the betrayal of self that started long ago and still hasn't ended. But it can. If you stay with me, if you give me these next 27 minutes, I'm not here to fix you. I'm here to show you what you've been afraid to look at. Because hidden in that fear is your freedom. We're going deep, into the psyche, into the shadow, into the pain. But I promise you, we're not going there to drown. We're going there to rise. Are you ready? Have you ever asked yourself why, even when things seem to be going well, there's still this unexplained heaviness in your chest? That quiet pressure when you're alone. That strange emptiness that arrives just after a laugh, like a shadow behind joy. That unnameable sadness that creeps in once the noise dies down and the world goes still. You try to brush it off, convincing yourself you're just tired or stressed or overthinking. You keep yourself busy, surround yourself with people, consume content, chase distractions, anything to avoid the silence. But deep down, you know it's more than that. You feel it in your bones. Something's not right. Something's missing. And the most frightening part? No one seems to talk about it. Not your friends, not your family, not even you. Because admitting it out loud would mean facing something you've spent years trying to avoid. And it's easier to keep going, to maintain the illusion, than to stop and ask the question that changes everything. What if the pain isn't coming from the outside? What if it's me? Carl Jung once wrote, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls." And isn't that exactly what we've done? We chase achievements, success, recognition. We fall into relationships, build careers, strive for perfection, all in the hope that something out there will finally silence the unease inside. But silence is where the truth lives, and that truth, painful as it may be, is that the suffering you're feeling is not an accident. It is not bad luck. It is not weakness. It is not some cosmic punishment. It is a message, a signal, a reflection of the parts of yourself you've tried to bury but never managed to kill. Something within you is crying, aching, to be seen, heard, held. And the louder it cries, the faster you run. But here's what no one tells you. You can't outrun your own shadow. That weight in your chest? It's not life being cruel. It's your soul knocking, again and again, on the door you locked so long ago. So I'll ask you, not as a stranger on the internet, but as someone who knows what it's like to carry invisible wounds, Do you really want to stop suffering? Then stop looking for the exit. Stop waiting for someone to rescue you. And start looking in the mirror. Because what you're about to see is not your enemy. It's your abandoned self. The child you silenced. The anger you buried. The truth you edited to make yourself acceptable. That part of you is still there, waiting for you to come home. You can numb it. You can deny it. You can keep pretending. But if you're still here, still listening, still breathing through this moment, then maybe, just maybe, you're ready to open that door. And if you are, then stay with me. Because on the other side of that door is not just pain. It's truth. And truth, even when it cuts, is the only thing that can set you free. You've built a life around being who they needed you to be. The polite one, the strong one, the achiever, the caretaker. You learned early on that love could be conditional, that acceptance came at the cost of authenticity, and so you adjusted. Every role you've played was not chosen by your soul, but sculpted by fear. Fear of rejection, fear of conflict, fear of not being enough. You adapted to their expectations. You shaped yourself to fit into rooms that felt like cages. You bent, folded, compressed yourself into a version that others could applaud, even if it suffocated the real you. And somewhere along the way, quietly, invisibly, you disappeared behind the performance. You stopped asking, "What do I want?" and started living by a different question. What do they need from me to stay? You became a character in a play written by people who never knew your full script, and you've been stuck on that stage ever since. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But how do you do that when you've been missing for so long? How do you find your truth when you've spent years learning how to hide it? You've buried your rage because it made others uncomfortable. You've hidden your fear because it made you feel weak. You've silenced your desires because someone once told you they were selfish. You've perfected the art of pretending, smiling when you wanted to scream, agreeing when your soul said no, holding it together when everything inside was collapsing. And now, there's this hollow ache, a silent grief, mourning the parts of you that never got to live. This isn't just burnout. This isn't just stress. This is a soul that's been ignored for too long. This is spiritual amnesia. You've forgotten who you are, but your body hasn't. It remembers. It remembers through the panic attacks, through the sleepless nights, through the fatigue that no rest can fix. It is your body's way of screaming, "This is not who we are." This is the real source of your suffering, not just the chaos of life, not just the disappointments or setbacks, but the quiet, relentless pain of self-abandonment, the betrayal of your own essence. Every time you smile when you want to cry, every time you say yes when you mean no, every time you shrink yourself to be digestible, likable, acceptable, you hurt. And as long as you keep pretending, keep performing, keep running, the pain will stay. Because your soul was never meant to be a puppet. It was meant to be free. And the soul cannot heal in a script written by someone else. It can only heal in the raw, unfiltered truth of who you are. So I'll ask again, and this time, listen not just with your mind, but with your gut, with your chest, with your heart. Are you ready to stop living the lie? Because what comes next holds the key to everything, to your healing, to your liberation, to the reason your darkness keeps returning. And if you're brave enough to keep going, what you'll face next is not a monster. It's the part of you that's been waiting to be seen. There is a part of you that you've never introduced to the world, a part you don't show, not on social media, not at work, not even to the people closest to you. In fact, most days, you hide it even from yourself. It's the thoughts you're ashamed of, the feelings you tell yourself are too much, the impulses you repress because they scare you, the cravings, the jealousy, the raw desire to scream or run or break free. That part has a name. Carl Jung called it the shadow. And whether you recognize it or not, it's there. It's not imaginary. It's not dormant. It's alive. It's breathing beneath your surface, shaping your choices, affecting your reactions. It shows up in your triggers, those moments when something tiny sets off a storm inside. It shows up in your self-sabotage, when you destroy what you actually want. It seeps into your relationships, your fears, your quiet shame. And no, it's not evil, and it's not broken. It's the orphaned self, the authentic parts of you that were rejected, shamed, or punished, so you exiled them in order to be accepted. But here's the thing. What is exiled does not vanish. It hides, it festers, it grows, and eventually, when you least expect it, it takes control. You think your fear of abandonment is about the people who left you, but it's not. It's about the parts of yourself you left behind in order to keep others close. You think your anger is irrational, something you need to manage, but it's not. It's the voice of your boundaries, the ones that have been crossed so many times. They now scream instead of whisper. You think your guilt is a sign of your goodness, but often it's not. It's the residue left by a lifetime of swallowing your truth to keep the peace. This is the shadow, not a flaw in your character, but the parts of your psyche you haven't integrated. It's not a villain, it's a messenger. And while you keep trying to numb it, fix it, medicate it, ignore it, it keeps manifesting louder. Jung warned us, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. That's not poetry. That's a prescription, a wake-up call. Your shadow is not a myth. It's a living force, driving your behaviors, making your patterns repeat, sabotaging your peace. And it will continue to do so until you face it. But here's the truth no one ever told you. The shadow is not your enemy. It is your power, distorted by neglect. The rage you've repressed doesn't want to destroy you. It wants to protect you. It becomes clarity when it's heard. The shame you carry isn't weakness. It's your empathy twisted inward, waiting to be transformed into compassion. Your shadow holds the very pieces you need to become whole, but you can't reclaim them while you're still pretending they don't exist. You must be willing to stop running, stop blaming, stop hiding. Integration doesn't mean perfection. It means truth. It's the moment you stop being afraid of your own depth and finally look your darkest parts in the eye and say, I see you. I hear you. You belong here. And in that moment of radical self-acceptance, something powerful begins to shift. You stop living as a victim of your unconscious. You begin stepping into authorship. You become not just someone who survives, but someone who creates, who leads, who lives from the core of their truth. If this message resonates with you, hit the subscribe button and join the channel. Thank you for being here. Healing doesn't begin when the pain magically disappears. It doesn't begin the moment you finally feel better. It begins the moment you stop running and choose to turn inward. Not to escape what hurts, but to understand it. Not to fix yourself like a broken machine, but to feel like a whole human being. That choice, to face the pain instead of avoid it, is the real starting line. Most people wait until life falls apart before they dare to change. They wait for the breakdown, the collapse, the rock bottom. But you don't have to wait for everything to crumble. You can choose, right now, to walk into the fire, deliberately, consciously, with open eyes and a willing heart. Jung knew this path intimately. He wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." The darkness isn't your punishment. It isn't your prison. It's your path. It's your guide. But you must learn to walk it without flinching. You must learn to read its language, to let it speak. This path begins with brutal, often uncomfortable honesty, not just with others, with yourself. No more pretending to be okay when you're not. No more performing stability while breaking inside. No more blaming others for wounds you're too afraid to explore. This is the moment where you sit down, strip away the noise, and ask the real questions, the ones you've been avoiding for years. What am I running from? What do I avoid at all costs? What truth about myself terrifies me the most? These questions crack open the mask you've been wearing, and every small crack is an opening, an invitation for light to enter. Not the light of false positivity, but the light of truth. You don't need to have all the answers right away. You just need to stop lying to yourself. Write down what haunts you. Say out loud what you've never dared to speak. Cry until the grief speaks its last word. Scream if you must. Shake. Collapse. Let go. These are not signs of weakness. They are the rituals of power. Raw, vulnerable, unfiltered power that lives in your willingness to finally feel. The first act of real healing is not buying a book or downloading a meditation app. It's reclaiming the parts of yourself you left behind in order to survive. The part that stopped believing in love. The part that wanted to scream but stayed quiet. The part that still cries at night, even if your adult self pretends it's fine. This reclamation happens through reflection, through courageous inner work, through therapy, through choosing to sit with yourself when the silence feels unbearable. And it's not glamorous. It won't make for perfect Instagram quotes. It won't look pretty. But it is sacred. And every small act of truth, every time you choose honesty over performance, presence over escape, is a step away from suffering. Because the pain you've carried isn't proof that you're broken. It's proof that you're fragmented, that parts of you were forced to go into hiding. And now, with each truth you speak, each wound you meet with compassion, those parts begin to return. And when they do, you start to come home to yourself, not as an idea, but as a lived, embodied reality. You've been taught to fear pain, to run from it, to numb it, to silence it with noise, distraction, consumption. But what if pain isn't the enemy? What if it's the invitation? Pain is not here to punish you. It's here to awaken you. Carl Jung saw pain not as a flaw in the human experience, but as the mechanism through which transformation occurs. He said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain. Not because life is cruel, but because the truth is heavy, and pain is what carries it to the surface." Think about the moments in your life that truly changed you, the ones that broke you open, the ones you swore you'd never survive. They weren't pleasant, they weren't easy, but they stripped away illusions. They forced you to confront what you could no longer avoid. That's what pain does. It disrupts. It demands presence. It calls out the false self and begs for something more honest, more human. You keep asking how to heal, but healing is not the opposite of pain. It is the purpose of it. Pain is your soul's alarm clock, begging you to wake up and choose differently. So the question is not, how do I stop hurting? The question is, what is this pain trying to show me? Behind every ache, there is a message. Behind every tear, a truth. You are not cursed. You are being called to slow down, to reflect, to listen. When you stop resisting and start learning from pain, it stops being suffering and starts becoming revelation. And what you find on the other side is not just relief, it's wisdom, power, and the peace that comes only from having walked through fire and emerged whole. There comes a moment after the grief, after the confrontation, after the collapse, when you begin to see yourself not as damaged, but as deep. When the fragments start finding each other. When you no longer try to erase your pain, but integrate it. Jung called this process individuation, not the pursuit of perfection, but the reclamation of self. Becoming whole doesn't mean erasing your flaws. It means embracing every part of your humanity, especially the ones you've been taught to hide. Your anger, your fear, your longing, your love. All of it belongs. Wholeness is not about feeling good all the time. It's about being true. It's when you can sit with your sadness without shaming it, laugh without guilt, say no without apology. It's when you stop negotiating your worth in exchange for acceptance. You stop performing and you start living. And in that authenticity, something shifts. The anxiety softens. The depression lifts. Not because life got easier, but because you stopped abandoning yourself. You no longer need to fight for love. You become it. Not for others, for yourself. And when you touch that place, when you feel, even for a moment, that your existence is enough, you begin to understand what it means to be free. Not the freedom of escape, but the freedom of presence. You're no longer haunted by your past or paralyzed by your future. You're here, now, real. You've crossed the threshold of pain and arrived in the territory of truth. And from here, everything changes. But be warned, once you feel this kind of wholeness, you can never again pretend you don't know it exists. Healing is not the final destination, it's the initiation. Once you begin to see clearly, once you stop betraying yourself, life starts to ask you a deeper question. Now that you remember who you are, what will you do with it? Carl Jung believed that true transformation is not complete until it becomes service. Until the light you found in your own darkness becomes a torch for someone else. This is not about preaching or teaching. It's about living as evidence that healing is real. Your journey becomes a compass, not just for you, but for others still lost in their storm. But this is where many stop. They feel better. The crisis passes. The symptoms subside. And comfort returns. But comfort is not growth. And if you settle here, you'll start to regress. Because your soul was not built for comfort. It was built for purpose. This doesn't mean you need to change the world. It means you need to stop hiding. You've seen what's behind the curtain. You've met your shadow. You've stared into the abyss and survived. That gives you a responsibility to no longer live small, to no longer betray yourself for approval, for safety, for convenience. Purpose is born not from ambition, but from alignment. It's not about what the world expects. It's about what your soul demands. And now that you've begun to heal, now that the noise has quieted, you can finally hear that demand. It might whisper, it might roar, but it will not be silent anymore. The path forward is not about becoming someone new. It's about finally becoming yourself, without shame, without permission, without compromise. And from that place, everything you do carries meaning. Not because it's perfect, but because it's real. So now you stand at the edge. You've seen the roots of your suffering. You've faced the shadow, walked through pain, and begun to reclaim your truth. This is not the end. It's the beginning. Because awareness is a door, not a destination. You can go back to sleep now. Pretend you never heard this. Slip quietly into the numbness of routine. Or you can choose. Choose to live awake. Choose to honor your pain as a guide. Choose to live not from fear, but from truth. This is your moment. Carl Jung once said, "Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." You have looked inside. You have awakened. And now, the world cannot lie to you the same way. You know too much. You feel too much. You are no longer a passenger in your life. You are the driver. And while the road ahead may be uncertain, one thing is clear. You are not broken. You are becoming. If this message struck something deep in you, don't let it fade. Reflect. Journal. Speak. Act. Share this with someone who's ready. And most of all, come back to this truth whenever you forget. Your suffering is not a flaw. It's a doorway. Walk through it, and you'll find yourself on the other side. Not fixed, but whole. And from that wholeness, you can finally begin to live. Not as a version of someone else, but as the most honest, powerful version of you.